Oh my god. What is up, party people? Sorry, I had to turn that light off because it's being a little weird. But make sure we have some good lighting here. I'm excited. I'm excited for today's episode, ladies and gentlemen of M Cubed. I am Schmook. This is Comic Adaptations Weekly, my favorite show here on this channel because we get to talk all things comic book related within the movie and TV show genre. So yeah, this should be an awesome episode because we are going to go over the entirety of the MCU and rank it. So I'm amped. First, I'm gonna do the movies and shows separately. Maybe in a future, way down the line, after we get some more content. I mean, we have a lot of MCU content. Don't get me wrong, but I think we have a good break here until. I mean, yeah, we have Echo coming out soon. Yeah, but we don't have a movie until July, and that's really it for until 2025, right? So that's crazy. But before we get into that, I think we're going to talk a little bit of news because we have a few things just to discuss. What's up, Sci-Fi? Good to have you here. Whoever else is here, say hey in the chat. I'm happy to have you, of course. Anyway, hold on. Hold on, ladies and gentlemen. Cool. Just getting my computer all set up. What's up, David? Good to have you. Because I need to be able to look at my list, you know what I'm saying? So in terms of news, what's crazy, the Marvels is having a terrible box office. All right, terrible. So I want to talk about that a little bit. Harris is on his way, I believe. But he's doing all right. I think he has another show currently, but he'll come chat with us too. Anyway, the Marvels had like a 78% drop from because last week was his first week and it made like $47 million at the week. The can't think of the term. Just the box office, in the States, right? I don't know how much it's made overall. I'm pretty sure it's gonna have its whole theatrical run be around 210, and the film costs like probably about 250 mil to make, which is fucked. It's gonna be a big L. It's gonna be a big L for the Marvel Studios and Disney because one, I don't think that even accounts for marketing. Even though they didn't market this movie too much, so I'm gonna be honest, because I think they knew that they had a movie they weren't that proud of, and they put so much money into it. Even though I don't think it's a bad movie, and you'll see where it is on my list, but it's nowhere near the top, right? It's good. I liked it. I think people are kind of a little harsh on it, but I think it's miles better than the first Captain Marvel movie. Hey, yeah. Whoever's in here, say hey. But yeah, so that's iffy. I want to talk about that a little bit. We don't stay too much on this topic, but I mean, yeah, it's crazy, right? Wow, was it estimated for 270 mil? Wow, that's wild. That's so much money, and that's even before, as you said, advertisement, which is this movie's a flop. This movie's a big old fat flop for Marvel Studios, which first time it's ever happened. This was the lowest weekend box office, like going back to last week for any MCU movie, right? And it's even behind The Incredible Hulk, and that's the second MCU movie ever, right? So that's just crazy to me. What the hell is going on with my computer? So I need this thing up before I can even get into my ranking. Shit. I don't know why it's being weird. Ooh. Hope I'm gonna be able to do this. I'm not gonna be able to do this off the noggin, but so yeah, it was fun. I mean, again, I think it's a good movie, and I'm surprised people aren't going to see it because there's not too much out right now. I mean, you have the new Hunger Games movie. Obviously, that probably did the best at the box office, I would say. And then next week we have Napoleon, which I'm excited for. I think that's gonna be a killer movie. Shit. Well, my computer just died. Ugh. Sorry, y'all. Gotta try to get this bad boy to work. I don't know why. It's being weird. But anyway, we have Madam Web. Madam Web. I want to talk about that too. It does not look good. Doesn't look good. Of course, I wanted just a little bit of news. There's not too much that's come out since we last chat. We last had our chat, but yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't think it looks terrible. I like the concept of the of Madam Web. Right? It's kind of like a Terminator type of situation in a way. It's like going back to kill blah blah before whoever's born, right? Where it's like you have I can't remember his name. Scarlet. Fuck, I don't know. I don't remember what his character's name is. But anyway, he's going back in time to kill Peter Parker's mom, and you see Ben Parker in this and whatnot. And then you have Madam Web recruiting like a team of these spider folk to try to stop this from happening, right? Because Peter Parker is the glue of the multiverse or the Spider Verse, right? So that's cool. And a lot of people are thinking this is going to be uh, Tom Holland is the Spider-Man they're saving, because obviously he's a part of like the Avengers, and he even saves the multiverse at times, even if it's his own movie. So it's like he is essential again to everything because he's the Spider-Man, right? So that'd be cool. And I know that goes into a lot of rumors that have been said that he is the chosen one, like the prime Spider-Man now within the multiverse. That's what they're setting up for Secret Wars. Because the idea is that you're going to have every single main version of these characters. That's probably going to be what comes after Secret Wars, right? Where uh, like Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, but we might get a new Wolverine. I think it's likely because Hugh Jackman's pretty old, and you don't really want some guy who's going to be in his 60s by the time you probably get a Wolverine movie. You don't want that for your future, but especially if you're doing a soft reboot after Secret Wars. But I do think it'd be pretty sick if we could get a Hulk versus Wolverine with Hugh Jackman's Wolverine before they do that. I think that'd be cool if that's the next Hulk solo film. Because of course we're going to be getting Deadpool where you get Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. So if that could possibly come out before Secret Wars, then you do Secret Wars, and then you get a new Wolverine. Then you keep some people like you keep Tom Holland Spider-Man. You can keep Elizabeth Olsen as Wanda. Blah blah blah. I think that'd be cool. Yeah, David. I mean, yeah, it's definitely a big flop with the Marvels, but it's not bad. I just didn't love it, but I think it's fine. I think there's like a good bit of films that I think are a lot worse than it within the MCU. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like they cut a lot of going off of what Sci-Fi said. They cut a lot out of this movie. You can tell there's some weird parts. The editing at times is pretty rough. It's not Ant-Man Quantumania rough with pacing, but it's still not great. And of course, it's the MCU thing where it's like most of these directors don't get their own vision. It seems like half the time. I only really get that vibe fully with James Gunn's Guardians movies, as well as probably the Russo movies. I think those are the only movies that really and I'll say Multiverse of Madness too, but I think those are the only movies that feel like you get the full director's vision instead of like getting this full formulaic thing. You know what I'm saying? Let's see. Yeah, but I think it's a solid film. Yeah, that's really it. But Madam Web, I think it looks fine. I'm not a huge fan of the concept. Well, no, I like the concept. It's just like I don't know. It seems like what they're doing with this, it's just like they're in this weird niche genre for like their comic book films, right? With Morbius, Venom, right, and then what Craven's coming out too next year, right? Uh, they're like going for like this like early 2000s vibe, right, or this late 90s, like in terms of quality, for a film. It seems like it's just they seem cheesy. I think they're going to be fun movies. I think Venom and Venom Let There Be Carnage are fun movies. Morbius is not good at all, but I think they're fun. Like they're goofy. They're goofy. Hey, if you guys are watching, make sure to say hey. Ooh, beautiful, Harris. You gotta let me know how next goal wins was. But it'll be good to have you helping when you're here. But yeah, awesome. Uh, but I don't know. Again, I don't know if I think this is better or this like Madam Web looks better than Craven. I don't think both look very good, but I think I'm ultimately gonna like the concept of Madam Web, in my humble opinion. Is Amon really blaming fans? I didn't really see that. I saw some interviews where she's just like, it's happening. It's not making money. Luke, you think Morbius is a cinematic masterpiece? Awesome to have you here, brother. So happy to have you here. Yeah, we're doing an MCU ranking. I think it'll be a fun time. But yeah, we're just going over some news based off of what's been happening recently. But yeah. Honestly, I guess we can maybe get into it unless you guys have anything else to say about the Marvels or Madam Web. But I'm down to get right into this MCU ranking because I think it'll be fun. I think I might go off of the shows first, due to there's not that many of them, And let me pull up my photos real quickly, so I can look at my. I made a tier list. I thought it was pretty cool. Awesome. Why is it so far away? Oh, actually, this would be better. Anyway, there's only one right answer here. What are you saying, Luke? What are you saying? Are you saying what my number one is? Well, we know what the number one is. I think so. Awesome. Beautiful to have you in there, Harris. Sorry about these technical difficulties. My computer wasn't charged, so I'm just having to get that ready. I thought it would be, but shit happens. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so Secret Invasion is at the bottom of that list. So yeah, we'll get into the MCU shows. I'm trying to make sure I get this shit handled. What the hell? I don't know why my apologies, people. My apologies. Hoping I can get this up and running for you ASAP. Shit. Oh, my God. All right. I cannot believe this. My apologies. Yeah. Do a quick late intro. My bad. Holy goodness gracious. I don't know why it's been goofy. Might be fine. Anyway, so yeah, Secret Invasion is by far the worst MCU show. I know there's some good qualities about it, but it's just like it seems very like it's connected to the MCU as a whole, but it's also it's just like, oh, beautiful. We got it, ladies and gentlemen. We got her. Let's see. Sorry, I ran my train of thought there. Oop. Beautiful. Now it's not loading up my fucking image. That's losing my mind here, guys. Can't believe this. Anyway, so Secret Invasion, bottom of the list. No, my bad, guys. My bad. So Secret Invasion, not that good. Nick Fury's, I think, pretty good in it. He's just, he's making out with a freaking Skrull in it, which isn't great. And then they make Emilia Clarke the most OP character within the entire universe. Come on. At times it has some cool concepts, right? But I mean, I don't like Rhodey being being a Skrull, right? I think that sucks. I don't love that. Yeah, it's just not my favorite stuff, But next up we have Miss Marvel. I do think I like Miss Marvel for like the first episode. I thought it had an awesome like vibe and feel, right? Um, but there was just something off, right? I think it just lost its like mojo to me. I think Amon is fantastic in it, right? But it's just, I think it loses a lot of its story appeal. Like I don't. The only thing that really keeps it alive to me is just the characters all around. I think a lot of them are just fun and they're very charismatic and they're good people. Oh, David, that's so harsh. I think that's pretty harsh with Secret Invasion. Interesting. So Shannon Amelia Clark, maybe that's a great point, Harris. But I think it just has something completely to do with. I don't know. Actually, I think that would have been pretty cool. She probably could have been because I mean, of course, Fury's in that movie. She has connected. She's connected to the scrolls, obviously, and yeah, huh? That would have been cool. See, it just shows how the MCU has been a little bit like a little bit off, you know. Let's see. MCU. I was hoping that my freaking. I'm just distracted now by by how none of this is on my computer. This makes me sad, guys. I don't know what's happening. Because I was hoping my iMac message. Maybe hold on, real quick. I'm still here, guys. Just gonna lose some of that visual. Man, I was really excited for the stream too, and I feel bad, guys. I was just I thought I had it all good and ready to go, but are we good? We got the sound now? All right, perfect. Thanks. All right. My bad, guys. For all these technical difficulties, it's kind of pissing me off. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah. But we're about to have this list. We're about to be perfect and ready to go. But yeah, Miss Marvel again. It's fine. It's fine. It's just not top tier Marvel for me. But yeah, we're now all good to go. But now I just gotta log into my computer. I think it's just been MIA for a little bit, so that's just my that's on my B. But next up we have She-Hulk. I think She-Hulk's next. I don't think it's that bad. Actually, no. Android Schmook. Shut up, Luke. I have Apple. But happy to have you here, Luke, for sure. Luke's one of my good buddies here. One of my good buddies. Perfect. Perfect. We are all Gucci. I'm about to have this bad boy pulled up, and I'm gonna be rolling. All right, but okay. So She-Hulk, right? I think it's a lot of flack. I think it's not a great show. I don't like, of course, having I don't like Professor Hulk at all. I think the finale is buns, but at times I'm like, okay, this is a fun show. I like Jen as a character overall, and then of course the Daredevil episode is what makes it higher than the other two shows alone, in my opinion. Like just seeing that, like, even if I just saw one single shot of Daredevil, it would be better than what I saw with Secret Invasion, my humble opinion. But yeah. And then let's see. I think, frankly, maybe I would have What If. If we'll count What If. I think I would have She-Hulk over What If. But What If is Schmook is not compatible with Android. No, Sci-Fi, you're a funny guy. Yeah. Hold on. Getting parched. But What If? I mean, I thought it was fun. I'm excited for this new batch that we're getting. Because we're gonna get, I think it's 9 episodes over 9 days. Then it goes from the 22nd of December to the 31st, which is cool. Again, I think it had some pretty good stuff in it. Like, I think the one Doctor Strange episode was some top notch stuff, you know, and then I think the Marvel Zombies episode was cool. But I had my problems with it, but it had some really dope moments. I like seeing Peter Parker with like Strange's cape, I guess, cloak of levitation, right? But again, I think it just had more weaker episodes. I found a lot of enjoyment overall with it. I think the animation could be a little bit better, but has its own style. It's fine. It's just not my favorite thing. See, what am I missing here? We have Hawkeye. Hawkeye's probably my next on the list. Okay. I respect that, Luke. I respect that quite a bit because you liked the first episode a lot with the Captain Carter stuff, huh? That was the first episode. But I think the Strange episode, and then I like the stuff with all the Multiverse of Madness stuff, or multiverse with the Multiverse Avengers, basically. Or the Guardians of the Multiverse is what they call themselves, right? That was cool. That was really cool. Again, I like it a lot. But again, technically there's only there's only 7 MCU shows. Am I wrong there? Maybe 8. I'm going to pull that list up actually real quick. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I just want to have this list out just so I don't forget anything, But yeah, we have Secret Invasion, Miss Marvel, I think What If, She-Hulk, and then Hawkeye. 5 shows already, huh? Okay, well, Hawkeye, again, I think I like the, let me see what Sci-Fi had to say. Oh, no, Luke, you're good, buddy. You're good. But the Strange episode, I think, is one of the top-notch, episodes of all of the Marvel shows. Ooh, okay, Sci-Fi. So do I think it should be separated? In terms of, I don't think it needs to be homework. Like, I need to watch WandaVision and Miss Marvel to see the Marvels, even though I don't think that's necessarily true, it helps a lot. Same with Secret Invasion. Like, I think it helps, but still, I think there's at times it's like, oh, I think it's a smarter idea to introduce these characters in a movie. Like, if they had introduced Miss Marvel in the Marvels, right? I think that would have been better than just doing this whole show that I should watch to get to know who this character is and how her powers are. Then see that, and then if people like it enough, you do a show. That's how I feel with like Falcon and Winter Soldier, for example, right? When you first get that banter in Captain America: Civil War, right? People are like, dude, I love the Bucky and Sam relationship. I think it's sick, right? So people are like, let's get a show, and they do a show. I think that works better than most, right? But Moon Knight, I think, could be an exception, but I think it's cool to have just because that's completely separate. It feels like, right? But Miss Marvel is where it's like she's fangirling over Captain Marvel the whole time in the show and even in the movie. So I think it's different. Hawkeye, I think it makes sense in terms of we've known Hawkeye forever, but then you introduce Kate Bishop in this show, and then if you haven't watched Hawkeye and you see the end of the Marvels, yeah, no, Sci-Fi. I think Miss Marvel should be after the Marvels, in my opinion. I like the idea of introduce these characters on the big screen. So like if they draw enough of a like fan audience, right, then you release the show and it probably does better numbers. Even though Miss Marvel actually has some of the better numbers um, within the MCU shows, right? But anyway, Hawkeye. To get back to the ranking, I think is it's a show I enjoy. I enjoy Clinton in a lot. I like the whole idea of him like losing his hearing. That's in the comics. Um, I like Kate Bishop. I think she's fun. I just don't like the idea of like again with the Marvels like building into this young Avengers team. If you do a show based on that, because then you're introduced to all these characters and do like a quick like 5 episode run. I think that's cool. I dig it, but I just don't think it's completely necessary to build up to these young Avengers, in my opinion. Yeah, you think so, Harris? I think it can be confusing. Like again, like that's the end of the movie is showing Kate Bishop. If you haven't seen Hawkeye, you don't know who the fuck Kate Bishop is, you know. But she is Hawkeye now, basically. And then same kind of goes with what I think what's going to be nice is like with the Echo show, right? Because you get introduced to Echo within the Hawkeye show, and then you get Kingpin. What's nice about Echo is it seems like I feel like you're just going to be able to get thrown into it, and you don't have to watch Hawkeye to watch that show. Let's see. Yeah, she can. She can remove the Bengals in the show. But yeah, Hawkeye I thought was fine. I think I don't like what they did with Kingpin. I think they built up to like the Kingpin reveal in a big way, but then he was barely in the show. He's in the last episode. It's cool to see him again. It's awesome to see that he's actually like a force of nature compared to like the Kingpin or the Daredevil show that was on Netflix, right? He seems more comic booky, and he's bigger too, which I really like. When I'm looking at Vincent D'Onofrio, I'm like, oh, this is Kingpin right here. But overall, the show was fine. A part of me though with that show was half expecting Spidey to show up at the end of it because they were literally fighting at the can't remember what it's called, the Rockefeller Center. Am I wrong? Could be wrong. I don't know what that's called. Just basically that icicle rink with the big tree, right? Because you see Spidey swing by it at the end of No Way Home. I thought that could have been cool if he just jumps into the action. Should you watch Daredevil? Have you never seen Daredevil, Luke? So in terms of the MCU, you probably don't have to because they're kind of doing a soft reboot. They're saying on the character based on the show, but you get the same actors. But again, they kind of scrapped the show and they're starting from scratch for what the show that they're going to put on Disney Plus. But I think Daredevil is one of the best some of the best Marvel content I've ever seen in general. Punisher's good too, but Daredevil, I think watch Daredevil. Daredevil is unbelievable. I'd watch that the most. Yeah, I would agree. Luke Cage and the first season of Jessica Jones, I think, is really good too. All these Netflix shows are awesome, and they're all on Disney Plus now, so I'd definitely watch those. But yeah, Hawkeye overall not my favorite. And then I think I might get some hate this. What's up, John? Yeah, no, I think it's gonna be as you said, semi. Like it's gonna have certain story notes, but I don't think you can include how big of a figure Kingpin was. Maybe you can. I don't know because it's just what's strange is that it could just overall have been in the MCU because even in the first season you see like pics from like Hulk fighting Abomination in Harlem. You get one of the Chitauri like the Leviathan things right on top of a building in the first Avengers. You get all that, so it's like you could just say it's all canon, which I would love, but Hawkeye again, I think it's fine, but it's just not my favorite. But okay, so I'm gonna get some flack, I think, for this next one. Okay, WandaVision is next on my list, right? So WandaVision, I think, started off unbelievably well. I thought it was top tier television when it was like coming out week to week. And then to me, I think once they brought in, because I love the whole you go through like early 50s like sitcoms, right? And then you go to 60s, 70s, 80s. I love those 4 episodes. Like the first 4 episodes I think are elite within WandaVision, right? Uh I'm trying to think maybe I might like the first 5. I'm trying to think of how many of them I really enjoy. Uh Punisher. So here's the thing. I wasn't going to include the Netflix shows because technically they're not canon. Uh, I will tell you that Daredevil would be number 1 out of all of these, and then the Punisher would probably be in the top 5. I would agree. I would say that's sci-fi. We're going to keep them off because they're just—it's not technically Marvel Studios, right? So that's why I'm just going to keep those out of this list. Yeah. No, I agree. So the first 4 episodes, and then I think the one with the witches is fine. Again, ultimately with WandaVision, it was just like the last 2 episodes that really like turned me off to the show like significantly to where it's like I'm just like I don't enjoy this because I think once they brought in Agatha, I thought there was some cool stuff they did with her. And then like of course like the last episode's cool in the aspect that like Wanda finally becomes the Scarlet Witch and she gets her like out like legit Scarlet Witch outfit for the first time. I thought that was awesome. I thought it was cool, but I just didn't love how they wrapped up the show. I didn't really like having Darcy in there either. I think you could have went. I could have went the rest of my life without seeing Darcy. Yeah, yeah, Kat. What's her name? Dennings. Is that her name? She's an attractive woman, but I think she's annoying as fuck. But that's my opinion. But I could have went without seeing her. And the thing is, I think that's also this is on me. What ruined WandaVision for me was how high of expectations I had because it seemed like each week they're gonna like drop some big bombshell, and it happened when you see Evan Peters as Quicksilver, right? So it's like, oh, are we getting into the multiverse and stuff like that? And it's like, okay, here we are. We're a part of the multiverse saga finally, because this was the first project since Endgame. Well, Far From Home technically, but this was the first thing. We had COVID hit, and we're supposed to get Black Widow a lot sooner. I think Falcon and Winter Soldier was originally supposed to come out before this show, but this was the first thing we got in a while, and like over a year, well over a year. I think July 2019 to what was it, January 2001 or 2021? I think it's when WandaVision dropped. Yeah, January 15th. I have it right here. So that was a big gap of no MCU content. So I'm like, okay, they're gonna do some crazy shit here, right? Did anyone actually want WandaVision? I mean, I don't think it was necessary, but I think it helps for. Again, this kind of goes apart with the. I don't like the MCU shows in terms of like, oh, it's homework based because I love Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. I think it's in my top 10 MCU movies. Spoiler alert. But at times I feel like you have to watch this like WandaVision to be able to enjoy the mass majority of that movie, in my opinion. Because you deal with the twins in it. You see how Wanda's going down this dark path because you get that last shot of her with the Darkhold book or the whatever it's called. Whatever. I don't remember what it's called. See, and that's fair too, Luke. That's a great question. What was the point if she definitely died at the end of it? And I think they even said that she did die, like in this recent timeline for the MCU they just released. So it's like, what is the point of dealing her this whole show? You even bring Vision back, like that, like in a way from the grave because you bring back this this white Vision, right? Who has all the memories of old Vision. So it's just like, what was the point? And yeah, Wanda maybe should have just been a movie. It could have easily been a movie. I think that's how I feel with most of these shows. I think a lot of them could have just been better if they were movies. Like I think there's only two shows on this list I think would work best as a show. That isn't like What If. What If needs to be a show, but I think only 2 of like the live action shows are ones that need to be shows, because I think Hawkeye easily could have been a movie. I think Miss Marvel could have been. I do think She-Hulk works best as a show. I don't think I wanted a She-Hulk movie. I like the idea of it being like a a sitcom. That was the vibe of that they went for. And I think they hit that mark fairly well. I just don't think it was that good of content overall, but I think they hit that. Yeah, but the MCU did officially announce that she did die at the end of Multiverse of Madness. So that's wild. But yeah, again, I think it started off unbelievably strong. I think we're getting some of the best MCU content. And then just really dived down. I don't know what it was. It left a poor taste in my mouth because you bring in Evan Peters and then you just make him a boner joke, which is ridiculous. Like that immediately, I'm like, Feige, what the fuck are we doing here? I was pissed. I was not happy. And you're doing the multiversal saga. Crazy. All right, so I guess next up, let's take a while. I might have to fly through this because I want to get through the movies instead of the shows because we've been talking about the shows for a while, and there's like 30 fucking movies to go through. Anyway, I think next up on my list I'd have the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Again, I think it started off like very well, and I really like the U.S. agent stuff. I love Walker. I think he's an awesome character. I'm glad they brought him into the universe. But U.S. agent is so cool. I need to see him ASAP. I don't know when the hell we're gonna get him back. That's what's the problem with the MCU right now. Like I can't like we're gonna go years without seeing certain characters. Like Shang-Chi, we haven't seen in a long ass time, and it's like, what the hell is he doing? How would Hulk know? The only person I could see maybe knowing who Parker is like Peter Quill, or just because he was off Earth, I guess, during the time. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know how the spell works. That's the funny thing. But I just don't understand how you think Hulk would know who Peter Parker is. Interesting. But yeah. Falcon Winter Soldier, I think Walker's amazing. Oh yeah, I think Venom would know. Yeah, that's a good question actually. Venom would definitely know. Well, that's cool, but they might do that with a different character. Like MCU is known for not like going directly off the comics. Like you can see that in Civil War and Infinity War and Endgame, But that'd be cool. I just don't see how it makes sense at all. Because even if someone like Doctor Strange doesn't know who Peter Parker is, then I don't see how Hulk would. But Falcon and Winter Soldier. I love Sam and Bucky in this. I think they give some awesome performances. I think Zemo is incredible in this show, even though he's barely in it. The only weird thing is that, like, is Bucky honestly more willing to work with Zemo over U.S. Agent? I don't think it's very believable, but it is what it is. It's what happened. But I think it made some decent content. I just don't think it makes sense. And where WandaVision failed, I think this one did better. Where I think it really stuck the landing. Where I think the finale was really good, and I really love Sam Wilson's Captain America suit. I thought the show was pretty solid. It's just it wasn't my favorite. I think there's only really two shows I absolutely adored, and the problem with one of them is that I think it just doesn't stick the landing, and I wish it did because I think it would have been arguably could have been the best show. And this is where it comes to where I think Moon Knight is my second favorite of these shows. I really enjoy Moon Knight. I just wish the ending it felt very rushed. I think they could have had another episode, and like the last episode again, it felt like kind of felt like Sony was making it like they were how they're making Venom or Morbius, right? It just had that vibe where I don't think it had a very strong ending. But I really like the idea of like the multiple personalities, and then you see how he has like 3 different personalities at the end. It makes for some very entertaining television in my eyes. I love Oscar Isaac. There is one episode where like shows his past and how this mental break starts to happen with Mark. But Oscar Isaac was phenomenal in this series. I thought he did a great job. Like, yes, exactly, Luke. I think Oscar Isaac goes full schizo. He's fantastic in this. But there was just the one scene where you can tell the breaking is happening for Oscar Isaac. And I was like, dude, this is a powerful show. I just really wish they had nailed the ending. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, but I loved Moon Knight for the most part. I thought it was a fun concept. Moon Knight's one of my favorite Marvel characters as well. I'm really hoping they do a Midnight Suns movie where you can have him, Blade, Black Knight from Eternals. You can even throw Agatha in there if you want. I think that'd be sick. I want Midnight Suns badly, and then you can throw Ghost Rider in that bitch, and that'd be such a fun movie. And then last but not least, this is no surprise with the shows. Have any MCU shows besides Loki and What If hit their endings well? No. I think Falcon and Winter Soldier is close to it. I just think there's some things I don't like about the finale, but I think overall, I think it had some good action, some great moments. Like I love seeing again Sam in the Captain America suit for the first time, right? But yeah. To lead into that, Loki is easily, to me, the best MCU show there is. Season 1 ended perfectly. Season 2 ended arguably better, where Loki is arguably the most powerful individual within the MCU universe, right? Or the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And that was a little bit of an oxymoron. But yeah, Loki, I don't even have to get into that much. I just think Tom Hiddleston gives a masterful performance. I think Owen Wilson is one of the best sidekick characters within all the MCU. Mobius is fantastic. I love Obi. Loki is just a fucking phenomenal show. I just wish you somehow could have gone a Chris Hemsworth cameo somewhere in there. The only thing I don't love about Loki season 2 is that you get a lot less Sylvie, who I thought was honestly one of the best parts of season 1. But whatever, it's Tom Hiddleston's show and he owns it. That show made Loki in my top 5 Marvel characters, at least MCU wise. Love that show. With that being said, guys, I guess we're gonna get into the movies, and I think that's where we're gonna have a lot of fun with this episode. It's already a pretty long one. We're already at 42 minutes. You would like just a Bucky show? I would agree, but I mean, Bucky's apparently going to be part of the Thunderbolts, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, let's get into the movies. This is where the fun begins, even though that's a different universe altogether. But if you get that reference, good on you. All right. My absolute least favorite movie within the entirety of the MCU is Ant-Man Quantumania. I think it is by far and away the worst movie within the MCU. I just remember seeing it in theaters, again with my buddy Luke, who's watching right now. I remember leaving that movie, I'm just like, what the fuck did I just watch right here? I had moments I really enjoyed, of course. I think Jonathan Majors did an amazing job as Kang, right? But you kill off Kang by ants. At times the CGI was just absolutely terrible. It's you can tell they're in front of a green screen, unbelievably at times. But at other times, this is some of the best CGI I've seen in anything. So I'm like, what the fuck happened here? And then, the hype going to this movie was sick because you're getting introduced to Kang the Conqueror. Not yes, we see He Who Remains. We're getting the Kang who is going to be the Kang Dynasty, which is now no longer a fucking thing because Jonathan Majors is probably going to prison. But I agree. I think, yes, Luke, I completely agree. Kang was the best part. There's no doubt about it. It just sucks that he died. But again, I think some of the dialogue was just terrible. I think the actress who plays Cassie was terrible. Attractive. Terrible actress. Then MODOK was kind of fucked. At times I thought it was funny, but it's just that's not my MODOK. But yeah, I'm just not a big fan of that movie. And it sucks because Ant-Man's honestly one of my favorite characters within the MCU. But it is what it is. Now we have Thor: Love and Thunder. Now, Thor: Love and Thunder, these are the two worst in my mind, no doubt. And what I hate is that those are the two that came right after each other. I just remember having a terrible taste in my mouth with Thor: Love and Thunder for a while. I'm like, okay, thank God, Ant-Man looks amazing. Oh, I guess Wakanda Forever came in between those. So never mind. But still, bad taste in my mouth. A little bit of a better taste in my mouth with Wakanda Forever. I'm like, okay, maybe we have some momentum. And then Ant-Man comes out, and I'm like, oh, God, what is happening to the MCU I know and love, right? But Thor: Love and Thunder. Now, A lot of people really love Thor Ragnarok. I like Thor Ragnarok, but it's not close to my top, and that's in a lot of people's top tens. And I just don't think it's that great. And what sucks because I really like Taika Waititi as a filmmaker. If you've never seen his movie Boy, highly recommend. It's a great little indie movie I love. But and Thor Ragnarok had some great stuff, but I think it just started to lead down a track where it's like, oh, you're making Thor into a bit of a shtick, where it's like, oh, he's just this funny dumbass, you know? It's like that's not what Thor is. Thor's the man. And in this movie, you get some moments of that, but then he's kind of getting belittled by Jane Foster and Valkyrie at times, and they have Christian Bale, arguably the best actor working right now, playing Gore the fucking God Butcher, who's one of the coolest comic characters of all time. And he's barely in this movie, and he's not very good in this movie, which is hard for Christian Bale to do. But he is one of the redeeming qualities of this movie. The only to me that makes this movie maybe a little bit better than King, for me, is getting the Guardians. You get the Guardians for a little bit, and I love Chris Hemsworth and Chris Pratt's chemistry. And then they have great chemistry on screen together. And I think that was just the best part of the movie. At times, some of the Jane Foster stuff is really cool, but the CGI in this movie is so bad too. Like it's honestly unbelievable how bad this movie looks. And Ant-Man. And I mean, there's some awesome looking scenes at times. There's like that whole sequence where they're in like a black and white area. I thought that was cool. Excuse me. But it's just a weird movie. And I think it had a good final scene, like dealing with like when they're at Eternity, right? And then like Thor gets Gore's daughter and whatnot. And Jane dies. It's just cool to like to be able to accept the loss and like stuff like that. I think it has a good message there. But that's honestly the only thing that is redeeming in this movie. Like I think that's the best scene in this movie is when they're at Eternity. And then you have some good stuff about like, you know, children being abducted and stuff like that. But it's overall not the best movie. And I think I'm not the only one who thinks that. And it's my second least favorite because I think it has some fun action sequences at time. Love and Thunder is an MCU movie. Yeah. Valkyrie and Jane just like overstepped Thor. I'm like, Thor is the fucking god of thunder. He is the strongest Avenger. Let him be it. It's whatever. All right. So next up on my list, I think I'm gonna have. I think it's gonna be Black Widow. Is Eternity? Yeah, who knows? Eternity could be there. I think they might do more so a Watcher thing at the end of Secret Wars. I think that's my idea, like how we see the Watcher and What If. But Eternity can always show up again because Eternity's, Eternity. But anyway, Black Widow. So this was sad because this is the first movie we got post COVID. We should have got this movie honestly, probably right after Civil War. It should have came out like based on when it's set, but you get it after Endgame, after Natasha's dead already. This comes out during COVID, or like basically once we're able to go to the theaters again. And to be the first movie since Far From Home, which I really enjoy, it was definitely lackluster. I think that plays a role into why it's lower on my list. I think I did not like what they did with Taskmaster because I really love Taskmaster as a character in the comics. I like getting to introduce some side characters like Red Guardian and Florence Pugh's character, Yelena. And of course, ScarJo's great. ScarJo, of course, is great in it. But it's just... It's a movie that just came out way too late. And, like, it's hard to do that. It's hard to do this movie after Endgame. You just get introduced basically to Black Widow's replacement. You know that you needed Thor and Drax in the same film, David? It's interesting. I don't think they're that similar of characters. I mean, Drax the Destroyer is cool and all. Yeah, he's more powerful in the comics. But I think I get what you're saying, how we have two like kind of dumb goofballs. I can agree with that. But yeah, Black Widow's just not my favorite. Weak villain. Taskmaster should have been cooler. I think the design is cool, and there's some good action sequences there. But overall, not my favorite. But I did like the family dynamic within the movie. It's not a terrible movie. it's just lackluster for me. And it's not kind of a movie I never really cared to want. I think we could have gotten a better movie with like her and Jeremy Renner, like doing the whole Budapest thing they talk about in the first Avengers movie. I think doing that could have been way better. That's my opinion. Next up, we have the first Captain Marvel movie. It's just not that good overall. I think Brie Larson kind of sucks in it. But it's because I just don't like the idea of having your main character have this whole amnesia thing going on. Because you like, if she knows nothing about herself, then we as the audience can't really resonate with her and get to know her because we don't fucking know anything about her except for her being kind of like just a dry individual, just someone that has zero personality, and it sucks. Like, I'm not really gonna care about this character, especially like, again, another thing. I think they should have had Endgame come out first and then release this movie, because then you get introduced to her in like this big Avengers movie, and you have a lot of people who see it. Even though this movie still made $1 billion, but I think that people can be like, "Oh, cool! All right, I want to know more about this character." Then you could do this movie. I think it might hit me a little bit better, maybe. But overall, it's just not a very good movie. Yeah, you get introduced to Monica and you get introduced to Maria Rambeau. Nick Fury, I think he makes this movie. I think without him and like you get an awesome Coulson cameo in it. Without them, I think this movie it just blows ass. I think the villain's weak. I think Carol kind of sucks in it. At times she's okay. Like, I like her when she's talking to Monica. She's like, "Hey," and they change the color on her suit. I think that's a good scene. But overall, it's not a very good movie. Not a very good movie. Okay. I think those are the only 4 movies I actually like really just that just do not truly click with me. Otherwise, I think I like almost every other movie within the MCU. This is a true ranking here. So now we have Thor: The Dark World. I think this movie has some really awesome stuff, like specifically with Thor and Loki. And then Odin is amazing in this movie. I remember watching this the other day, actually. Excuse me. And I'm like, this whole intro is actually so much fun to watch. Like, we have Loki, he's like in handcuffs, he's going to prison. Odin's like, I would kill you, but your mother just wants you in jail. And then you see Thor fighting with like the Warriors. Was it the Warriors 3 and Sif? Am I wrong? Is that what it's called? Whatever their team's called. It's cool to see that whole action sequence. You see Thor fight like a Korg species. It's fun. It just kind of loses me once they get back to Earth. I think the Thor movies work best when they're in space, because Thor's that kind of character. I mean, I think the first Thor movie works specifically because it's on Earth and he's like becoming grounded and more humble. So that's why I think this whole movie being like an Asgard or some other planets doing like fun shenanigans, which is like kind of what like Ragnarok and Love and Thunder do great. They're just not very good movies. You know what I'm saying? So Thor: The Dark World has some good stuff, just a very forgettable villain, and that's really it. But again, Tom Hiddleston I think is fantastic in this. Tom Hiddleston's easily one of the best actors within the MCU. Like, in terms of playing his specific character, maybe not overall actor, I love Tom Hiddleston. All right, so next up we're gonna have Ant-Man and the Wasp. Ant-Man and the Wasp is just. Yeah, I agree, Harris. I think leaning into the Asgardian Norse stuff really helps Thor's character and the movies as a whole. But next we have Ant-Man and the Wasp. Ant-Man and the Wasp. There's stuff I really enjoy about it. It's just like I don't have that much to say about it. It just didn't hit me that hard. I thought it has some really funny moments. I like when Scott is like in between like regular size and mini, and then I think Evangeline Lilly as Wasp has some amazing action sequences. Overall, I just didn't love the villain. Lawrence Fishburne was okay in this movie, but I think you could have had a better role for him. I like the idea of finding Janet, the original Wasp. I think that's cool, but and like you get an awesome like throwback scene of Hank and Janet as Ant-Man and the Wasp, and I think that's great. I love that. But overall, it's not the best movie. But it's not. I don't think it's terrible. It's just not my favorite. Next up, we have Iron Man 3. This is my least favorite of the Iron Man movies. I think it's a really good like overall movie. I think only in terms of how it looks. I think it's a beautiful looking movie. It has some awesome action sequences. And of course, RDJ is amazing as Tony Stark. I just don't love this movie coming out when it did. You know, I think this movie would hit me a lot more if it's like you don't have freaking Ultron, you don't have Civil War, and you don't have Infinity War and Endgame still, and the Spider-Man Homecoming, where you see Tony and all these all being Iron Man. I just think this movie would have hit more if you deal with a real Mandarin, and then it's Tony's like retirement, and he gets the arc reactor out. He's done being Iron Man. I think that I would have would have liked that ending more for him than the Endgame ending for him. But of course, I love his ending in Endgame. Don't get me wrong, but I think them doing a lot of this stuff in Iron Man 3 just feels very out of place for the timeline. Because this was like the first movie to come out after the first Avengers movie. And I'm like, this is so early into the universe, and it feels like, oh, we have an entire Thor or Iron Man trilogy already, and you're making this his ending. Very weird. Uh, that's how it felt to me. It felt like we're done seeing Iron Man, you know. But it has good moments. It's just not my favorite. All right, next up we have Iron Man 2. The only reason I think it's a little bit ahead of that one is because, sci-fi. I can do that once I'm done here. I can post my whole list in the community. That sounds good to me. Maybe we can do this as a separate video, edited wise. We can have some graphics up there. Harris, up to you. Don't matter to me. But anyway, Iron Man 2. I like it more because I still think we get some more of that classic Tony Stark. You're not dealing with Tony Stark with like PTSD and being with the Avengers, which I really like. I like seeing War Machine for the first time in live action because I've always loved War Machine from the comics and the old. I've ever always loved it. I always loved seeing him in like the old animated Spider-Man show. I thought it was sick. And I like the villain overall. You know, you kind of have like a more dorky ass like Tony Stark wannabe with Justin Hammer. I believe that's his name. And then you have Whiplash, who I think is a really dope Iron Man villain. I think he's played very well. And I think he's just a better villain than what we get in Iron Man 3. So I think overall that's just what gives it a little bit more of an edge than Iron Man 3. But Iron Man 3 deals with cool stuff, of course, with Tony dealing with the PTSD of the first Avengers movie. Yeah, that's fair. I'm with you, Harris. That's all good. But we'll talk about it. Anyway, next up, I have The Incredible Hulk. I think it's a very underrated MCU movie. The only reason it's not talked about that much is because it's Edward Norton and not Mark Ruffalo. And I think Edward Norton did a great. I think he did a great job as playing Banner. I think he gives that little bit nerdy, he's a little weakling type of guy. And he becomes the Incredible Hulk. It's awesome. And then he has a good on-screen romance with Betty White, who's played by Liv Tyler, who I love seeing because I love Liv Tyler because I love the Lord of the Rings movies. And yeah, sci-fi, I agree. I would love to do a stream for Star Wars and MCU. That'd be great. We can do you guys can come on Comic Adaptations Weekly from time to time. But yeah, Incredible Hulk, I think it's a good movie. It has an awesome action sequence between Hulk and Abomination at the end. Again, I just think it's a lost memory because it's not Mark Ruffalo. I think if it was Mark Ruffalo, I think people would like this movie a lot more because I think it's pretty solid. I think it's solid. Why did Edward stop after the Hulk movie? It's because apparently it was a pain in the ass on the set. They just didn't want to deal with him. So they just decided to recast, and now we have Ruffalo. So it is what it is. Which sucks because Edward Norton is like a far superior actor to Ruffalo. Even though Ruffalo's good. I think Ruffalo's not a bad actor. But I'm curious if we would still be seeing this Professor Hulk storyline because I don't think Norton's that goofy of a guy. Ruffalo's a goofy motherfucker, you know? So it's like I can see him doing that, but not Norton. You know, I think Norton we would have probably had World War Hulk by now. I think we would have this badass Hulk the whole time. That's just me. So next up we have the Eternals. I think I like it in terms of like how it looks. I think the overall story is not the best, but it has some cool action sequences. I like a lot of the characters, but I really like it solely for the ending because I love seeing the Celestial at the end, and then I like Blade recruiting Black Knight, and I can't wait for Kit Harington to be Black Knight within the MCU because Black Knight is a dope character. All right, beautiful sci-fi, beautiful. But again, Eternals. I know a lot of people don't like it, but I don't know. I found a lot of enjoyment with it. I don't know what it was, but I just enjoyed the characters as a whole. It was a killer cast. And then I just think the cinematography and the special effects were really good. Wakanda Forever is next. Of course, I think this movie would be better if we didn't lose the great Chadwick Boseman before it, but there's nothing you can do about it, unfortunately. But I think Shuri takes up the mantle of Black Panther very well. Namor, I think, is really cool in it, and I think T'Challa's mother, I can't remember her name, she does an incredible job in this movie. It's just overall, it's just not my favorite MCU movie, and I think I just didn't love Ironheart in it. And Ironheart's a cool character, but I just wasn't a big fan. But great, visually great, and had some amazing. Uh, had amazing special effects in this movie, and the action sequences were just phenomenal. But yeah, Luke. I mean, to be fair, I thought they did a pretty decent job. But a lot of, again, they're just playing these robots, and so they have to be kind of wooden. Uh, but yeah, I do agree because like you have so many great actors within the Eternals. So I'm with you. But I don't know. I found enjoyment. Man, can't get rid of this cough. But I found enjoyment with Eternals. And then Wakanda Forever, I think is good. It's just not in my top echelon. All right. Next up, we have the Marvels. It's a fresh movie. I think I like it more than most of the. Wait. Uh, who's Lex? Harris. Oh. I don't hate that. I don't hate that. Oh, sci-fi. You didn't like Wakanda Forever. I mean, again, it's not my favorite. I do think it would be a way better movie if we had. I think they should have just recast it because I love T'Challa as a character, and I think it sucks to lose Chadwick Boseman, but like all you do is at the end of the movie you have an after credit scene that shows off his son. But that's just my thought. Yeah, it was just a hard time to do it though because he just died right before they had to film. But I would have just pushed the movie back. I don't think I don't so far I don't think it's had anything to do with the MCU. If it feels like its own standalone movie, I just don't think you had to do it. They did it as a love letter to Chadwick, which is fine, but he should have just recasted. But Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor isn't terrible casting. I just don't love that. Uh, but I think he can do a good job. I love Jesse Eisenberg as Lex in the Zack Snyder's movies. And I think Hulk could do a good job. I can see it a little bit. So, oh yeah, the Hulk movie, the Ang Lee Hulk, that's a separate thing. Like, you can technically count every single Marvel movie ever made due to the multiverse, but I'm not counting the Raimi movies or the X-Men movies. Maybe I'll do a eventual like huge list of every Marvel property due to the multiverse. We can do that down the road. Uh, once we get closer to Deadpool 3, I'll do that. Uh, or Secret Wars, but we'll figure that out. But yeah, it's not a great movie. I like how Hulk looks in that movie though, and I think Eric Bana plays a good Banner. It's a good origin story. I just don't think the movie's very good. All right, so we have the Marvels after that. I think it's a good movie in terms of like I like the cast chemistry. I actually think Brie Larson does a much better job in this movie playing the character. Like I don't hate her as much. I think she becomes more fun because I've always been like, girl, you have a stick up your ass this entire time. Like, what the hell? Uh, but of course, Miss Marvel's phenomenal in this. I think she's the highlight. Monica does a great job too. And then of course, the after credit scene showing Beast, and he looks completely like the X-Men 97 version. Amazing. Uh, and then the only thing that's lackluster about it is like the villain just wasn't very good. But oh, that's fine. Next up, I have Thor Ragnarok. Again, it's not one of my favorites. It's just not. Oh, and Brie is a babe in that movie. I agree. I'm with you, sci-fi. I'm with you. But Thor Ragnarok. So highlights. I think Thor's pretty good in it. It has some awesome action sequences, especially with when what Immigrant Song. That's what it plays, right? By Led Zeppelin plays. You have an awesome action sequence. I just think the special effects could have been better in this. Oh, man, I just wish the special effects were a little better in this movie. But I love the Loki, Thor, and Doctor Strange scene. I like the Hulk and Thor and like the Coliseum. But just overall, I just don't love the style, and I don't love I don't like the goofiness at times. I think it's a fine movie. I don't think it's a dog shit movie or anything like Love and Thunder. Love and Thunder sucks. This does not suck. It has really good redeemable qualities. And Luke, I agree. I think the first Thor movie is the best Thor movie. But yeah, Thor Ragnarok's good, but it's unbelievably overrated. It's in a lot of people's top fives. I'm like, that's so absurd. There's no way. But to each their own. Next up, I have Black Panther. I like the first Black Panther. But what sucks is that I think Chadwick is like the kind of one of the worst characters in this movie. And it sucks because he's Black Panther. He does a good job in it. Don't get me wrong, but I really liked Killmonger in it because I think Killmonger is unreal. I love Michael B. Jordan. Of course, I love Ulysses Claw because he's played by the great. I don't know why I'm blanking on his name. It's terrible. He's one of my favorite. He's one of my favorite actors. Holy shit. I'm blanking. Harris, help me out. He plays Claw. He plays King Kong. He plays Caesar. He plays. Oh, I don't know why I'm blanking so hard on this. It sucks. Andy Serkis. Thank you. That's terrible. I'm blanking on that. Gotta love those brain farts, right? But again, I think he's great in it. I hate that they kill him off. Terrible. But I like the idea that's very Shakespearean, like, taking over the throne and stuff like that. I think that has a lot of good qualities. I think just at times, like, the action sequences were not good because the CGI was terrible in this movie at times. But in most scenes, though, like, I'm like, this is a beautiful looking movie. Like when he's in the afterlife talking to his dad, the whole first fight with Killmonger, like where Killmonger claims the throne. There's good stuff. Like there's a lot of good stuff in this Black Panther movie. Yeah, I know it's sci-fi. My brain farts are terrible when they happen. I get it. But anyway, trying to think about what else I really like about this movie. You have a really good cast. Soundtrack's pretty good. Just what I hate the most about this movie, honestly, I might like Thor Ragnarok more than this movie. Now that I think about it, maybe. Yeah, no, I'm with you, Harris. That's a very poor decision pre Endgame because everything pre Endgame is pretty miraculous for the most part. Overall, good movie. Again, I think I think I'm gonna switch this and Ragnarok. I might like Ragnarok a little bit more. I think I might find a little more enjoyment. But it's fine. It's like I think a lot of people think it's one of the best, and I just don't agree. I think it's good. Next up, I have the first Thor movie. Now, this movie again, it goes with that Shakespearean aspect, like taking over the throne and brother against brother. What I like about it is like I like how it feels very fantasy based, like Lord of the Rings for like a good chunk of this movie, and then we go to Earth, and I love the Earth stuff too because I just like how Thor has to go from this arrogant jerk off to being the king he's meant to be, and I love that aspect. And Loki, you get to see him be a villain for the first time, and how he leads into being the Avengers villain. But overall, I think the first Thor is just a criminally underrated movie. I think it's one of the better solo MCU movies there is. And of course, you get a lot of, maybe not a lot, but like I just love seeing. I just love Odin. I love Odin in this movie. I love him. Yeah, and I agree. Harris, I think if they brought Kenneth back to do the Thor 5, I think that'd be an awesome full circle moment. I'd love to get back to that Thor, and I want Thor to be like how he was in Infinity War and not in Thor Love and Thunder. That's the best Thor we've ever gotten. We're going to take a quick drink. Getting a pretty long stream here, guys. This is a fun one. I have the first Doctor Strange here. It was hard. This and the next one I think are pretty interchangeable. I love this movie in terms of like special effects. It's a great origin story for Doctor Strange. I think it's one of the best looking MCU movies we ever gotten. I just wish they did Dormammu a little better. Otherwise, I think it could be in my top 10 if they just did Dormammu a little better. That was the only thing I didn't love. I wish he was just like the classic like fire head, whatever. It's whatever. And I think Mordo should have been like more of a villain and less of a her. He should have been more of a villain role. I just didn't want him to be a companion to Strange, but and then now he's like he's irrelevant. That after credit scene's pretty irrelevant now too. But it is what it is. Oh yeah. Oh, Brad is a fan. Kenneth Branagh is a fucking phenomenal director. I would love to have him back in the Thor franchise. But yeah, Doctor Strange, one of the easily one of the best looking MCU movies. Uh, but I think I just like this next movie a little bit more in terms of like a fun factor for me, which is Ant-Man, because I love Paul Rudd as Scott Lang. I think having Michael Douglas as Hank Pym is great. I love Evangeline Lilly in this movie. She's very attractive in this movie. She's definitely downgraded quite a bit, but yeah, I love his daughter in this movie. I think she's hilarious. There's some great scenes with her that just crack me up. Uh, and I just like his ragtag crew. Like I love Jeremy Pena in this. Just a lot of it's just a fun movie, and I think I love these small scale movies. You know. Oh, you're watching Oppenheimer after the stream? Phenomenal movie. You're gonna have a great time watching that. Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I love Wong. Wong is a highlight of these Doctor Strange movies, no doubt. But now he's in like almost every fucking MCU project. He's literally the new Coulson, which I could see him dying in the near future, and that could be like a Coulson bringing the group together type of scene. That's my thought. Let's see. Missed a few more of your chats, guys. Yes, I agree. I think the first Thor and the first Ant-Man are incredibly underrated movies within the MCU. I think they're some of the better origin movies, and they're just more grounded overall. Especially Ant-Man. It's just a heist movie, you know, and it's fun. And it's a good villain too. Like I love Yellow Jacket in this movie. He's actually like he's just a guy. He's just a complete d-bag. It's just great. I love the first Ant-Man. Next up, this might be a little bit of a hot take. Uh, I have the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie, which I just watched again last night, so it probably got bumped up a little bit on my list. Uh, but I decided that I think it's pretty overrated. I say that in terms of like a lot of people say it's like one of the best MCU movies. I think it's great in terms of like it's visually great. It's one of the better MCU looking movies. I love the cast, and I love the idea of them meeting for the first time. The soundtrack's great, but it's my least favorite of all the three movies when it comes to soundtrack. But I like seeing this team come together and stop being like these degenerates and become a team and a family. I do love this movie. Don't get me wrong, but I like all these other movies more. I like them all more. Specifically, I think this is easily one of my favorite origin movies. Is Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi has unbelievable fighting sequences, and I love how it becomes like this awesome martial arts movie into this epic fantasy at the end. And I love the main actor, and it actually has a really good villain. And again, it feels pretty Shakespearean as well. Like it has this father and son, and this rift between them, and I just like how his father is just held, like he is just ready to sit, like just that little bit of hope to get his wife back, who he loves more than anything, even his own children. I just think this movie is so much fun. I love Wong in this movie. I love you get to see Abomination. He looks more comic accurate. And again, I just think that whole fight sequence on the bus is easily one of the best action sequences and within the entire MCU. So I love this movie. Love it, love it. Next up, we have Spider-Man Far From Home. My least favorite out of the Spider-Man trilogy. But I really go back and forth with this and Homecoming because Homecoming's next on the list. But I think I like Homecoming a little bit more because I like actually seeing Peter fully in the high school element where but yeah, I'll talk about Far From Home more. But I just like him being more so in like his school, right? But Far From Home I think is great because I always like a good vacation type of movie. I like that's a European vacation, so you get you see some Venice, you see London, and all this stuff, so it's cool. And of course, Jake Gyllenhaal is phenomenal in this movie, as he is in almost anything he fucking does. Jake Gyllenhaal is one of the best actors working. I love that he's Mysterio, who's one of my favorite Spider-Man villains, and he's just great in it. He's great. And of course, you get Nick Fury in it, who's not actually Nick Fury, but it's cool to see Nick in it. And I like that Peter's starting his process becoming the Spider-Man he's meant to be, and not this Tony Stark Jr. And this movie deals with that a little bit, where it's like, I miss him. I don't know what I'm gonna do without him. But you have to be your own person. And he's even asked, like, "What's up with the Avengers? Blah blah blah. Like, are you the new Iron Man? Shit like that, right?" And it's just a fun movie. And I like that it starts to spark that Zendaya and Tom Holland chemistry, and like because in the first movie I never really saw it at all. Like her MJ was just a very weak side character in the first movie. Obviously, he was more into Liz. I don't blame him. But I like their relationship, and I like that this movie started. I think No Way Home, which we'll get to, don't worry, really does the best with their relationship, because it feels real. Like it feels like two teenagers in love. Right? It feels like puppy love, right? And I really like that, because I like when they kiss for the first time in this movie. It's like, all right, it's cute. It's like a little cute little kiss. They've had crushes on each other the whole time. It's just nice. And of course, I love Peter's friend Ned. Ned cracks me up in this movie. I love him and his his girlfriend's relationship within this. It only lasts like a week or whatever. They feel like they went through like this whole like, feels like a 30-year marriage went by, and they're like, oh, we're just going our separate ways. Like we still care about each other. Blah blah. It cracks me up. But Homecoming, I think I like a little bit more, which again is next on my list, because I think Michael Keaton overall does a better job. I think he's a little bit of a better villain. I like him just doing fun little Spider-Man shenanigans. Being friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Like it feels smaller, feels more intimate, because like again, like Far From Home, it's like, is this an Avengers level threat? So it makes it feel bigger. I just like how it's just Vulture trying to steal shit so he can put his family, or eventually send his daughter to college and shit like that. Because he's just like he's just a regular blue collar guy, and that's what I really like about Michael Keaton's Vulture. His suit is sick too. And I just know this is one of the best villain reveals. I loved when he opens the door to Liz's house to take her to the homecoming dance, and you see Michael Keaton. It's like, oh shit, he got her. He somehow knows that he knows Peter's Spider-Man. He knows he likes Liz, who's gonna go after the ones he loves. Then it's like, oh shit, he's Liz's dad, he's Liz's dad, and it's just a great moment. And then that whole car ride is haunting. I love how like the light turns green once he's like, oh, this motherfucker's Spider-Man. I'm like, that was a beautiful scene. I love that movie. And I just love when Peter's trapped under the rubble. He's like, I don't need the suit. I am Spider-Man. Let's do this shit. And that's great. Love that movie. Next up, I have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. So I like this movie more than the first one, solely for I like that the team is more of like a team, more of a family. You get introduced to Mantis, who I really enjoy, and I think this is my favorite out of the three soundtracks. And I agree, sci-fi. We'll talk about that once we get to No Way Home, but I'm 100% with you. I love that. I love that those movies are canon to the MCU now. I agree. But I like Guardians 2 more, because I just like, you get Kurt Russell. He's a great villain in this. He's Ego, the Living Planet. And that whole like dropping the ball, or that big bombshell. He's like, it killed me to put that tumor in your mother's brain. And then like Peter Quill's just like, what? Great meme material, of course. Hey Peter, or like, I'm your dad, Peter. All of course good stuff, right? But I just like this relationship of like fathers and sons, and like this you're a estranged father, you want that connection. You're like, this dude is one of the worst people that's ever been in my life. He took the one person who loved me more than anything. But then that's what's great about the found family he has, because he lost everything he had on Earth, but he found his true purpose to be the leader of this ragtag group, and I love that. Yeah, I like Guardians more than the first one. That's my personal opinion. My goodness, my computer just shut off. There we go. All right, now we are officially in the top 10. But what did you just say, David? Let's see. Not a fan of Tom Holland? Uh, damn. That sucks, David. Yeah, you're in the UK, right? Yeah, that sucks. Tom Holland always had trouble with keeping his fucking mouth shut. It's true, but I think he's doing a better job as of late, especially with No Way Home. Like they had to keep their mouth shut, even though that was the worst kept secret in Hollywood that Toby and Andrew were in it. But still, but we're in the top 10 now. Oh, excuse me. We have Avengers: Age of Ultron. I love this movie. It's my least favorite out of all the Avengers movies, but I like that it's the Avengers team. Like with the first movie, you have them like coming together and to become the team, and they don't even necessarily like each other, but they do it for the greater purpose. And this one, they become more family, right? And I just like that they're a team this whole way through. I think Ultron's a good villain. I think one of the most misleading trailers, though, because I always thought James Spader was going to be a well more uh, menacing villain, where he becomes like a little bit of a jokey character, which I don't enjoy. But I still think Ultron was ultimately really cool. But you get some awesome stuff in this. You get Wanda, you get Quicksilver, you get Vision, all of them for the first time in the MCU, which is great. You talk about Age of Ultron, Luke. Yeah, I think it's criminally underrated. I think it's easily one of the better MCU movies, and people really shit on it. I remember seeing it in theaters. I'm like, oh, this movie kicked ass. I might like it more than the first one, and just the whole Hulkbuster versus Hulk scene was so good. You introduced the Claw, Wakanda. Uh, uh, there's just a lot of good shit in this. The only thing I don't really love in this is the Bruce Banner and Black Widow kind of forcing that relationship a little bit, because I always thought her and Cap had a little bit better chemistry overall. That felt a little bit forced, but I thought it was a really good scene, like her and him talking at the bar. Though I could tell that they had feelings. It felt good, uh, but not my favorite choice in this movie. But Joss Whedon, he understood how to write these characters. He really did. I just didn't think there was that much consistency, though, in terms of how these characters were written, specifically Captain America, because you go from Winter Soldier Cap to Age of Ultron Cap, where he's like language. I'm like, okay, dude, you were one of the biggest badasses from Winter Soldier. Now you're kind of like a lame dad. It's like, come on. Uh, but yeah, overall, I love this movie. I think it has some of the best action sequences in the MCU. I like the final fight at Sokovia, and then you get probably one of my favorite scenes in all the MCU. It's where it's just Tony and Cap talking. It's kind of starting that little bit of a rift between them. Because I just love when Cap rips this log in half because Tony's pissing him off. It's just like shit. I know what's coming next. We're getting some Civil War shit in the near future. But yeah, love this movie. Next up, we have Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Epic movie. Visuals are great. Wanda's an unbelievable villain. Wong's great in it. Uh, I love the Illuminati. Seeing John Krasinski as Reed Richards is beautiful. Love getting that original X-Men soundbite once you see Charles roll up in the classic yellow wheelchair from the X-Men show. Hype. You see Captain Carter in live action, which is cool. Uh, just an awesome movie. It does some crazy things with the multiverse. I love the fight scene between Evil Strange and Doctor Strange, where you have all these notes. I'm like, that's one of the coolest action sequences I've ever seen in a superhero movie. And I just love Sam Raimi. Sam Raimi has his own flavor, and that's what I love about this movie, because it doesn't feel like an MCU product. It feels like a Sam Raimi movie, and that's what I love. But yet, it's still in the MCU, and it's awesome. Which I want to watch again fairly soon, because I haven't watched it in a bit, and I think I need to, because the movie kicks ass. All right, next up we have the first Iron Man movie. Oh, I guess before I get into that, sci-fi. Great question. Uh, I don't hate it. I can see it. I definitely would have went with someone else. I probably would have just stuck with John Krasinski, because I think he's like the perfect guy to play Reed Richards. I think he could play him very well. He could play the smart guy. He can still be a lead. He's a leader, uh, and he just looks like a Reed to me. He just does. Pedro, yeah, you're going away from him being white, but I can still see him being like this dad figure because, of course, I've seen The Last of Us, and of course, Joel wasn't white, or he was white in the video game and not in the show. But I can see him being Reed because again, I can see him being this dad throughout to all these different characters within the MCU. Because again, the Fantastic Four is like Marvel's first family, right? And they have to be that family like figure to the rest of these characters within this grand universe, right? Um, Again, I don't really want to judge it too much until I see it happen, and I don't even think it's like fully official yet. I think it's basically official. I think Pedro is Reed, but I want to see the movie first before I can really judge it. It's just not who I would cast, but I felt the same way when he was cast as Joel, because I would have picked Hugh Jackman for that. I think he would have kicked ass, and I also would have picked the girl who's going to be playing Abby in Last of Us Part Two to be Ellie. I think her and Hugh Jackman would have been great as Joel and Ellie, but I digress because I think who they did cast, even though I disagreed with it, I think it turned out to be fantastic. I think Pedro as Joel was remarkable. I think he killed it. But anyway, Iron Man. So I love this movie. I watched it again pretty recently, and I think it's great. But I think that I like all these other movies just a little bit more. But it's definitely it started everything, and I just know that first scene where you see him in the classic Iron Man suit, and he's taking out that tank. I'm like, it's some of the most badass shit I've ever seen. And of course, RDJ is masterful as the character, and him coming out of the cave for the first time in the Iron Man Mark One armor is so dope with the flamethrower. I love this movie. I love this movie. Of course, you get Happy in it. You get and then you get Fury at the end to be like, let me tell you about the Avengers Initiative. I'm like, oh shit, we're in for some crazy shit. What's wild is this came out like roughly around the same time as The Dark Knight, and it's just like that was just always the movie that was more in my head, where I didn't appreciate this movie until once there was this big old universe, you know. But now that we have this huge universe, the first movie in the MCU is still one of the best. Still one of the best. Now we get to my favorite origin solo movie within the MCU, and that is Captain America: The First Avenger, which I think is a criminally underrated movie. I love it being a period piece. You get that relationship between Bucky and Cap. Peggy and Cap, I think, is one of the best on-screen romances within any comic book movie. I think the only ones I have ahead of it is maybe Tony and Pepper, and I like Andrew and Emma Stone in the Amazing Spider-Man movies. I think those are easily the best, but I love this relationship. I also think I like Quill and Gamora more. But sci-fi, I mean, hey, man, like the top 10, I can interchange most of these, but that's just my personal list. But I love a World War II setting. I just do. And I love the Howling Commandos. I love the whole ending of this movie is so badass, where you have Cap taking down the ship where he becomes frozen, and then him waking up in the future. He's like, shit, I had a date. I'm like, it hits me because I love that relationship. Love him being in boot camp also because it's like, even though he's not a super soldier yet, he's still one of the best guys out there. Even though he doesn't have the power, he deserves the power because he's the one who would do greatness with it, and he does because he becomes the man who leads the Avengers. Great movie. Next up, I have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. It's my favorite of the Guardians movies. It's great soundtrack. I love Rocket. It makes Rocket one of my favorite characters within the MCU. Quill's great. Love his whole ending of going back to Earth. Just a great movie. It's a good send off to most of these characters, but we will see Quill again, and we have this new Guardians team. Groot's awesome. This movie has some awesome action sequences. The High Evolutionary is a great villain, and yeah, had a lot of fun with this one because like James Gunn, he writes some good stuff. Even though I don't necessarily really like James Gunn, he understands like good banter between friends, and that's why again in this case it's family. I like how the first one is finding your found family. The second movie is like, okay, we are family, and this one is the lengths you would go for anyone in your family, even though it's a found family. Even though you don't share blood, you do anything for them. But all right, now This next one is like a 5B, 5A type of scenario for me because it's hard. Because like some days I like this one more, and the other times I like this one more. But I think I'm going with Endgame next. Uh, I love this movie. I just know the hype was unreal going into this movie. Uh, I love getting these. You got the OG Avengers trying to save all these characters that were gone, even half the entire universe, right? And I like how the first act of this movie is just like our characters we know and love dealing with this loss. Yeah, I mean, David, that's fine. I understand a lot of people like the first Guardians the best, but that's just I like them backwards. That's my personal opinion. Um, but anyway, with Endgame, the first act of them just like dealing with this loss, the second act being like, okay, we can fix this, and the third act is one of the best hours in almost any movie I've ever seen to me because it's just it makes me hype because I love I love comic books. I I adore these characters because it's what I grew up on. And I love seeing Iron Man with Peter Parker, with Star Lord, with Doctor Strange. You get Hulk, you get Ant Man, you get fucking Black Panther. It's awesome, and they're all fighting Thanos. And one of my favorite scenes is just you have the three. You have Thor, Iron Man, and Cap taking on Thanos, and then Cap's able to pick up Mjolnir, and it's like, yeah, damn right, he's worthy. Uh, and then of course when Thanos bitches Cap, and then he has to put his shield on his broken shield, and it's one man against an entire army. And then you have the Avengers theme start to play, and you have everyone there. Avengers assemble. It's one of the most hype moments I've had in a cinema. I this movie was so great. Now, in terms of feelings, this is like one of the best movies I've ever seen in theaters. But in terms of it being a movie, I think I like this next one more, and that's the first Avengers because I like seeing these characters interact for the first time. Seeing this movie in theaters was nuts because it's like, oh, Captain America, Iron Man, Hulk. You get Thor. Uh, I love seeing Thor fight Hulk. I like Loki being the main villain. Um, I just love the first Avengers movie because I just like the team coming together for the first time for a greater cause. But yeah. But yeah, just love the first Avengers based on like what it meant to building off this huge, amazing universe. And Luke, you saying same? Are you agreeing with Harris saying it's Guardians 1, 3, and 2, or is it like me where you like 3, 2, 1 in that order? I'm curious. I'm just curious. Uh, and yeah, Harris, I agree. I think the MCU does need the Russos back because I think they made four of the best easily. Because we still have three more of their movies left on this list. Speaking of, which is next, number 4, my fourth favorite. It's Captain America: Civil War. I like seeing the Avengers like at each other's. Oh, you like them in chronological order? Okay, fair, fair. I agree. I mean, I don't agree, but I'm the opposite. But hey, each their own. I don't know, three Guardians 3 just hit me in a certain way. It's like the lengths you would go for these people that don't share blood with you, but they are family. You know, that's my mentality. Uh, but anyway, Civil War. One, it's a Captain America movie, so Cap's still the main focus, but like RDJ is phenomenal in this movie. You get introduced to Spider-Man for the first time. I love the Winter Soldier being on the run. You get introduced to Black Panther for the first time in live action, which is sick. And it's unbelievable how great he was in this movie. And I just don't like him the rest of, in the. I don't like him that much in Infinity War and his own movie or Endgame. But I still love Black Panther's character, and I love Chadwick Boseman. But in this movie, Black Panther was a fucking dog. He was so sick. Like when it's Cap chasing down Bucky and Black Panther chasing both of them down is so sick. And yeah, Civil War is an Avengers movie, but I still see it as a Captain America movie because it still deals with a lot of stuff involving Captain America, specifically dealing with Bucky, his best friend. But the whole fight sequence is amazing. Where you have Ant Man, you have Cap, you have Black Panther, you have Spider Man, you have Thor. You don't have Thor, but you have Tony, you have War Machine. It's sick. This movie's just cool. I just wish the fight was in a bit of a better background, was filmed a little better, but it still gives us some of the coolest moments in the MCU. Like you see Giant Man for the first time. I was so hyped seeing that. All right. Next up, we have Spider-Man: No Way Home, which this is my third favorite movie of all time, or not all time, but within the MCU. No Way Home just kicks so much ass. I think a lot of it is the only reason I have these other two maybe ahead of it is because I have to understand that maybe these other two are just better movies. Uh, uh, but No Way Home just it hits that nerd. You know, seeing all these classic villains from my childhood, like you see one of the foes, Goblin. You see Alfred Molina as Doc Ock. It hits. And then of course seeing Toby and Andrew. Come on, this movie just kicks so much ass, and it makes Tom Holland to me it makes him like arguably one of the better Spider-Man because you get to see these two that I know and love teach him to be better because it's what we do. And then by the end of the movie, it's like, okay, this is Spider-Man. It was just a 3-movie arc as an origin story of how Peter Parker becomes Spider-Man. And that's why I can't wait for Spider-Man 4. Because I think it's going to be a little more grounded, which I can't wait for. And have probably Daredevil and Kingpin in that. It's going to be badass. Next up, we have Captain America the Winter Soldier. Just watched this movie last night. Love this movie. Just love how despite espionage makes Captain America such a badass. Makes it feel like kind of like a James Bond movie starring Captain America in my eyes. I think Fury's great in it. I think Natasha's great in it. I love getting introduced to Sam because I love Sam. And then Bucky, this Winter Soldier being a villain is unbelievable. Best movie CGI post Endgame. No Way Home, easily. It's by far the best movie post Endgame. I think it's better than Endgame. No Way Home kicks so much ass. But Winter Soldier is just a phenomenal movie. I just love the whole like Shield being infiltrated by Hydra all these years, and Cap just being the man to take it down. Yeah, this movie kicks so much ass. And finally, my number one favorite MCU movie is Avengers: Infinity War, where you get to see all these characters interact with each other for the first time, and it's incredible. Like I love seeing. Oh, ScarJo was an absolute piece in Winter Soldier. I agree, Luke. I agree. But Infinity War is just my favorite because it makes Thanos. Thanos is one of the best movie villains of all time now because of this movie. It's a movie where the villain wins, which I love. Seeing this movie in theaters was great because you have Spider-Man interacting with Doctor Strange and Peter Quill. It's so cool. And then even like RDJ, like Iron Man dealing with Peter Quill is great. And of course you have Captain America with like T'Challa, and you have Bucky. You have everyone in this movie. That's what's cool about it. With Endgame, it's like mass majority of the movie is just like the OGs, and then the rest come in at the end. But this movie was dope because you have everyone, and you have Thor with Rocket and Groot. Great. I just know Thor coming into Wakanda is one of the coolest sequences within any of these movies, and it's the best Thor we've ever gotten. But all right, guys, I think that's gonna do it. Tell me your thoughts. I want to know some of your guys' lists, or at least post your top 5 or top 10 in the comments down below. I had a great time talking with you guys. Very long stream, but it was a fun one for sure. All right, guys. I'm Schmook. Make sure to like and subscribe. I'll catch y'all very soon. Had a great time talking with y'all. Peace out.
Real quick, y'all come by tomorrow morning. Sci-Fi Quest and I are doing a whole stream on afterthoughts for Monarch. So come on.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah. Make sure to check that out, guys. I haven't caught Monarch yet. I hope you enjoyed. But yeah, Harris, play out that outro. Talk to y'all very soon. Bye bye.